cultivates the mind, the spirit, and the soul, and we must always cultivate the soul.
The control panel's really messed up!
You know, when I was a kid, I was obsessed with aliens. We had awesome shows like Alan Strange, amazing books like Animorphs and the Andalite Chronicles by K.A. Applegate. Hey, remember the Scholastic Book Fair? I remember being in second grade, going to the book fair and getting the Andalite Chronicles, and getting instantly engrossed in the far reaches of space, empathizing with the struggles of Elfangor, the estranged alien who lent his powers to some random kids on Earth, then reading the individual stories of Jake, Cassie, Rachel, Marco, and Tobias, and how they used this morphing ability given to them by Elfangor to defend Earth against aliens known as the Yeerks. They even made a show about it on Nickelodeon in 1999, but it didn't last long, and by every measure, the books were much better and told a much more vivid story. Heck, even my artwork from grade school reflected my affinity for the extraterrestrial. Oh look, isn't this cute? Looks like I was clearly trying to copy the font from The Journey of Alan Strange, because I thought if aliens could write in English, this is what it would look like. I don't know, I was a strange kid. And even now, as an adult, the theme makes its way into some of my more recent comic strips on occasion. Now, some of us would go on to outgrow this hysteria for the otherworldly beings, and others, not so much. Anyway, that's enough of that. Today, I'm diving into Tenchi Muyo, one of my favorite series growing up that dealt with space, aliens, and just made you feel like the Earth is just a grain of sand in the vast beach that is the universe. Tenchi Muyo, which has several translations such as No Need for Tenchi, Useless Tenchi, or This Side Up, has existed since 1992. When it was released as an OVA in Japan. This kind of thing is like a straight-to-VHS series which typically has 6 episodes. It caught a lot of steam and became a highly successful manga series. One of the cool parts was that the series had 3 main writers, Hiroki Hayashi, Naoko Hasegawa, and the ever-elusive Masaki Kajishima, who came up with the original concept. The dude does not like to be photographed and is known for being somewhat of a recluse. But, as fate would have it, I had my first experience with Tenchi when I came across it on Cartoon Network's afternoon and Saturday morning anime block, Toonami. I wasn't a huge anime guy, nor still really am, but I was an avid watcher of Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z back at the tail end of the 90s. It was then that I came across the trailer for Tenchi Muyo, as did probably most of the people who lived in the United States who are watching this video in the year 2000. Now, upon seeing this, I knew I had stumbled into something truly epic. Here, just check out the trailer. I remember being home over summer right after 4th grade ended and seeing this during a commercial break for DBZ.
A Shinto shrine deep in rural Japan. A boy trains diligently. Soon he will become a man.
Now is your time to grasp the future.
His name? Tenchi Masaki. In an instant, the reality Tenchi knows will be shattered.
What could that be?
He'll enter a world where alien princesses traverse the galaxy in living ships.
Let's get out of here!
Space pirates plunder at will. And galaxy police patrol the stars, protecting the innocent.
Pull over, Lightfoot! License and registration!
But the most important discovery he'll make is that 6 crazy women living under the same roof all have the hots
Tenchi! What?
for him.
Leave Tenchi alone!
Tenchi is mine!
Tenchi and I are meant to be together, don't you remember?
Just close your eyes, Tenchi.
I've got you!
This is it! The ultimate weapon!
Oh, Tenchi, you are just so sweet!
You crazy!
Getting married to Tenchi!
Now he'll have to deal with bounty hunters,
Fire now!
ancient demons, mad scientists, and shared bathroom time.
You're a naughty boy, aren't you, Tenchi?
The universe needs a new champion. Tenchi needs some peace and quiet. Good luck.
Everyone calm down!
Tenchi Muyo, starting Monday, July 3rd.
Girl, stop it, girl!
Love stinks. Only toonami.
Now, how awesome was that? Couple that with the fact that I had just beaten Diddy Kong Racing, which, despite what WizPig says,
You can't beat me.
is possible. And the space-themed future Funland right at the end of the game was by far my favorite set of courses. So it just seemed right that a space-themed show would capture my interest. Now, for this retrospective, I'm going to be discussing the 3 Tenchi series that appeared on Toonami. Tenchi Muyo Ryo-Oki Seasons 1 and 2, the 26-episode TV series Tenchi Universe, and the much less critically acclaimed second TV series Tenchi in Tokyo. I know there are many other Tenchi series, and the Tenchiverse is huge and expansive, but this is a retrospective after all, so I'm just looking back at the Toonami days. Okay, now that we've gotten that out of the way, while I do hope you'll check out this series and enjoy it every bit as much as I did, I do have to say there will be spoilers in this retrospective. So if you're planning on watching this now more than 30-year-old franchise, now is the time to stop the video here before I get into the plot. Alright, with that out of the way, let's dig into a basic synopsis of the plot, which is told in 2 different series that are not continuations of each other. Oh, did I say 2? No, I'm sorry. 3 different series. Toonami, as excellent as they were, did not do a great job of explaining this. So after the initial 12 episodes of the OVA aired, then they showed Tenchi Universe, which rebooted the entire story. Then came Tenchi in Tokyo, which, you guessed it, yet again rebooted the story. The core concepts were the same, but as a child I must admit it was a little confusing seeing the new series start and all the characters didn't know each other again, and certain events from the past were never mentioned again. So we've got our main character, Tenchi Misaki. He lives out in the countryside in Okayama Prefecture, Japan, and I have to say he does sort of look like a potato, but he's just a low-key chill guy who doesn't bother anyone. Tenchi's mother passed away when he was a baby, so he lives with his father Nobuyuki and his grandfather Katsuhito, and he does chores and takes care of the family shrine. His grandfather told him to never enter the sealed-off area under a huge rock just outside the shrine because hundreds of years ago a demon was sealed away to imprison it. So, as any curious teenager would, Tenchi decides to investigate. Well, it turns out the demon was none other than Ryoko. No, not that Ryoko. Also no, not that Ryoko. But Ryoko wasn't a demon. She was a space criminal who had landed on Earth and was sealed away for hundreds of years. Ryoko being released prompted the attention of the crown princess of the planet Jirai, Ayeka, along with her little sister Sasami, to find the Earth, as Ayeka was in pursuit of her brother Yosho, who had gone after Ryoko after she had committed war crimes on the planet Jirai and escaped. Ayeka attempts to capture Ryoko, who unwillingly takes Tenchi aboard her living spaceship, Ryo-Oki, in order to escape. In the fight with Ayeka, the 4 of them crash, leaving Tenchi with 3 aliens now living in his house. But before we go into the part of the story where things get good, we need to discuss the tomfoolery. See, this show barely made it to American soil, and the 4th episode nearly stopped the show from being imported right in its tracks. One of the main reasons being nudity is viewed a little differently in Japan. It's commonplace on TV, but here in the States, that's a no-go. And we aren't talking about pornographic nudity, we're talking about a character-building trait. While many write this episode off as merely fan service, I disagree. As the story attempts to establish Ryoko's character, Episode 4 brings us to the hot springs. Now backtracking to what we know from before, Ryoko and Ayeka hate each other. But they are also a stark contrast to each other's personalities, sort of a space Betty and Veronica, if you will. While Ayeka is demure and reserved, Ryoko is raucous and has a loud personality. So the conflict is at the hot springs. Ayeka covers herself, but Ryoko has no problem strutting around in nothing but her birthday suit in an attempt to appear confident. Now, there's a lot more to it than just this, but again, base level synopsis. So, how do you get around this and make it suitable for an American and American teenage audience at that? Well, the answer is actually really simple. You poorly Photoshop some swimsuits onto the characters and hope the censors allow it. And it wound up working, and thus the whole show was saved from being too unsafe for Cartoon Network. I really have to hand it to them, even though the video editing was primitive even for its time, it accomplished the goal of saving the media from having to be taken off the air just 4 episodes in. And they got really creative too in the way they addressed other mature topics, such as alcohol consumption, which was really prevalent throughout the series. They just changed it to tea. See, I found the show in its original state when I was in my 20s, and it hits you like a ton of bricks that the intended audience was never supposed to be American preteens, so hats off to Toonami for finding a way to just make it work. Anyway, that's enough of that meander. Now back to that plot we were talking about.
I deeply appreciate you coming out to welcome me.
Ryoko!
However, this one belongs to me. She is, how can I say it delicately, waste product. Still, she is agile. I bet she's given you some trouble.
So after a brief introduction to Galaxy Police Detective Mihoshi, now we meet Kagato. And let me just say, he is one badass villain. It turns out he's another notorious space criminal, but he has ties to Ryoko. He is known for stealing rare artifacts and causing large-scale destruction throughout the galaxy. He had captured his former partner, the scientist Washu, who was also Ryoko's biological mother and also creator. As we learn, Ryoko was genetically altered, and that's where her powers come from. There's tension between Ryoko and Washu, but that's an entire plot point of its own. Kagato had taken Ryoko during her youth, and basically corrupted her, making her into a weapon for his own personal use. And speaking of Ryoko, now is as good a time as any to talk about her voice. In Japan, Ryoko was voiced by Io Rakasa, but in the English dub, Patria Burchard would capture lightning in a bottle. In a time where anime voice actors weren't that well known, she really was a standout, and I think the emotion that she brought to the character was really what got a lot of people involved in the series. Here, check out a really cool scene that really showcases Patria's acting ability.
Ryoko, we thought you were Kagato's prisoner. I don't believe this. Well, now that you've escaped, perhaps we can save Tenchi, since he went to save you.
We must go now. We must challenge Kagato, that's all we can do.
Is that right? I'll tell you what we can do. We can find Tenchi. That's what we can do. Do you hear me? Is he dead?
It's not over yet. I will kill Kagato. I will kill him! Even if it kills me.
The cool part is Patria stated in years after her portrayal of Ryoko that Ryoko's voice is her own, and it wasn't a big change for her. Anyway, back to that whole plot thing we've been getting away from, and if it seems like we're all over the place, it's because we are. So it turns out the very same Crown Prince Yosho that Ayeka had been trying to find was none other than Tenchi's grandfather, Katsuhito, which was the name he assumed when he settled on Earth after chasing Ryoko and imprisoning her. So he was the one who set all these events into motion. And yes, that does make Tenchi the Crown Prince of Jirai, and also yes, that makes Ayeka his great aunt. So the fact that she fights Ryoko for his hand in marriage is bordering on some real Game of Thrones crap. Tenchi defeats Kagato, and now there's 5 alien women living in his house with the addition of Mihoshi and Washu, who are the perfect comedic foils for each other, by the way.
So I guess what you're telling me is there's absolutely no way out of here.
Where were you when they handed out the brains?
Now, Tenchi Muyo at the time only had 12 episodes, So Toonami moved us right onto the 26-episode TV series Tenchi Universe, which was a similar retelling of the events of the OVA, only this time they added a new character, Kiyone, who is Mihoshi's police partner and her polar opposite. The episodes involving Mihoshi and Kiyone always provided some great comic relief.
Mihoshi, my partner. It's already been a month since you died. You were always such a burden to me. But now, I will never see you again. And that knowledge makes me so happy! May your soul rest in peace, Mihoshi. What? Mihoshi's alive?
Now, all I said was it's possible she's still alive.
Over the episodes, we learn that while Kiyone has been dragged down in her career by Mihoshi, views her as a burden, and yes, as you just saw, was celebrating when she thought Mihoshi had died, but deep down, despite her being annoying and incompetent, Kiyone cares for her, and they are good friends, even going out to spend money they don't have to sing karaoke and just have a good time. As a child, I know I wanted Ryoko to be the one to end up with Tenchi. She's still my favorite of all the strong female personalities in this show, but as an adult, I can definitely empathize more with Kiyone, the responsible one who just wants to pay the bills, make sure food's on the table, and has healthy career ambitions. I also loved Ryoko's character arc in Universe. The aptly named episode 24, No Need for Ryoko, is where it all comes to a culmination. The whole series has Ryoko and Ayeka fighting over Tenchi's affection. Ryoko seems to be selfish and even ruthless to get her way, but when it seems Tenchi has made a choice to risk his life and go and save Ayeka, Ryoko offers him a helping hand to help him rescue the woman that he chose over her.
From this point, you're on your own, Tenchi. I hope you know I wasn't planning on helping you rescue that other woman. After all, I am a pirate.
I owe you one. Thank you.
You ain't got all day, you know? You're wasting time!
We thank you for the escort. Not even 1,000 knights could match your spirit, Ryoko. Goodbye.
And what is an ultimate redemption of a person who had previously caused so much wrong in the universe, showing us that she can be selfless, and ultimately does what she thinks will make Tenchi happy, even coming at the cost of her own life. When I was 10 and I first saw this, I won't lie, I cried a little during this episode. Lastly, rounding out the Toonami run of Tenchi, we had Tenchi in Tokyo, which once again rebooted the whole story and added yet again another character. Oddly enough, Tenchi in Tokyo only ran once on Toonami and didn't have reruns, and even as a kid, I thought it was the weakest of the three series on Toonami. It relied more on comedy, and while it could be funny at times, it just didn't have the same intrigue the OVA and Universe had. I'm not saying it's bad by any means, but the animation style had changed, and getting a similar story for the third time was sort of getting old at this point. There's not much else I can say for Tenchi in Tokyo. So that's my retrospective for Tenchi Muyo on Toonami, an interstellar series featuring conflict, romance, comedy, and so much more. It really had something for everyone. I can even remember being in school and talking to the girls in my class about it who weren't typically anime watchers, but this was somehow different, something special. I thought it had something for everyone. Thanks for watching the video, guys, and if you enjoyed it, drop a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.